If you've been dreaming about turning your living room into a cinematic playground, whether it's for movie marathons, high-octane gaming sessions, or just binge-watching the latest series, you're probably wondering whether a TV that big can actually live up to the hype. I'm going to walk through the TCL 98-inch Class QM8L Series and see if it really bridges that gap between size and performance. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. First off, the sheer size of a 98-inch screen is impossible to ignore. When you sit a few feet back, the picture fills most of your field of view, which means you're less likely to get distracted by the edge of the panel and more likely to feel completely pulled into the action. For families, that translates into movie nights where it feels like everyone's sitting in a home theater rather than on a couch surrounded by scattered snacks. I tested it with a recent superhero film, and the combination of the ultra-color filter and high static contrast gave the reds and blues a punch that makes the smaller screen experience feel almost flat in comparison. Now, the Mini-LED technology is where things start to get interesting. TCL's SQD-Mini-LED array spreads out 100 or so dimming zones across the screen, which lets the TV crank up brightness on bright scenes while still keeping dark areas true black. In practice, that means your HDR highlights, think fireball explosions or sunrise shots, look vivid without washing out the surrounding details. I tried a nature documentary that shifted from a bright desert to a shaded forest, and the TV handled the transition without any noticeable blooming, so you still see texture in the shadows. If you're a gamer, the 144 Hz refresh rate is another solid win. Sports titles and fast-paced shooters often suffer from motion blur on lower refresh panels, but the higher cadence here keeps motion crisp, giving you a competitive edge without sacrificing visual quality. Voice control and the AI side of things are built around Google's Gemini interactive AI, which feels like having a smart assistant right on your screen. You can ask it to pull up the latest episode of a show, change the volume, or even dim the lights in the room if your smart home is set up for it. I asked it to show me the next episode of The Crown, and within seconds, the TV switched over to the streaming app, loaded the episode, and even suggested a similar period drama you might like. The integration is smooth enough that it doesn't feel like a gimmick, it's just a convenient way to keep your hands free while you're settled into your spot. Sound is another area where this TV tries to step up. TCL partnered with Bang Olufsen for the built-in speaker system, and while you won't get the full immersion of a dedicated soundbar, the audio is surprisingly clear and dynamic for an integrated solution. Dialogue is crisp, and the bass hits enough to give action scenes some weight. If you're watching a thriller with a lot of subtle background ambience, you'll notice that the TV can reproduce those low-frequency cues without muddying the mids. For casual viewers who prefer not to deal with extra hardware, it's a neat middle ground. Smart TV functionality rounds out the package. The operating system runs all the major streaming apps, and because it's built on a Google platform, switching between services feels almost instantaneous. I didn't have to jump through firewalls to log into my Netflix or Disney Plus accounts, and the UI stays responsive even after a few hours of continuous use. One practical perk is the ability to cast directly from your phone, so you can toss a YouTube video onto the big screen without fumbling with a remote. In a household where multiple people have different streaming preferences, that flexibility makes the TV feel like a shared hub rather than a single-owner device. Talking about the benefits is one thing, but it's also worth mentioning the downsides so you have a balanced picture. The biggest positive for me is the immersive size paired with the Mini-LED brightness and 144 Hz refresh, which together make both movies and games feel noticeably smoother. The AI voice control is genuinely handy, cutting down on the need to juggle a remote during binge sessions. And the built-in Bang & Olufsen audio, while not a full theater replacement, is definitely a step up from the tinny speakers you get on many other flat panel sets. On the flip side, the sheer scale of a 98-inch TV means it demands a sizable wall space and a solid mounting solution. You'll need to make sure your room can accommodate it without overwhelming the space. Also, the built-in sound, while decent, still can't compete with a dedicated soundbar if you're after that full cinematic roar. All in all, the TCL 98-inch QM8L delivers on most of the promises.